So going over the two that I have checked out, in terms of master's programs, there was two. There was that one, so Masters in Sport and Exercise Physiology, and this one. So it was Human Movement Science, and both are in the medical aspect of sport, but also the sport aspect of sport as well. So you get a good overview. So this weekend I went abroad, checked out the university over there, and for the 48 to 72 hours that I was there, and I was checking the place out, seeing the town, seeing the university, meeting students from the place, meeting tutors from the university, meeting people that lived there, that were working there, and people that were abroad working there and living there, and I came away thinking that I had more questions than answers, but not only that, there was a particular part of the trip that made me think more about what I was doing. So over the last year or so, I've had this thing in my head of go abroad, study, and there's so much I want to do. I want to travel, I want to be able to study as well as work, and the only problem being that I didn't take into account the logistics behind it, the technical parts of it, so i.e. getting accommodation, getting work out there, and also being able to set myself up before I get there as well with the course and stuff, and make sure I'm on the right course. When I went to the open day for it, I missed out on the facilities and the walk around, which is fine. I mean, I saw a few photos on the website for the particular course, and I knew of what I was getting into. But when I got there, they had a welcome talk, so they talked about the research they were doing there. They talked about the opportunities that you do have when leaving the masters or during the masters, what you can do, what you can't do. Well, more what you can do rather than what you can't do. So I was able then to get a brief underlying basis of what I could do. So towards the end, I asked about certain types of talent identification, and because I was looking at the specialisation in healthy ageing and cognition, I thought that would be along the lines of the talent identification. Although it does say on the sheet that you would have specialisation course either in healthy ageing, sport, or rehabilitation. They said that the sport part would come under sport sciences rather than the human movement science. So I'm starting to think maybe I should be picking the sport science course. But there's also the parts of it as well which I didn't take into account. So after the university open day, I went back to my to my accommodation, and on the way back I talked to a Canadian woman outside of a coffee shop who was talking to some guy, and because I recognised that she was a English person anyway, as a first language you could tell, so I thought I would go over, ask, and see if she was either on holiday or whether she was working and living here. And we had a conversation about what I was doing there, what I wanted to do, and it turned out she was living and working here for around about a year before going to Australia. And I asked about the accommodation, the university, and getting work out here, and her honest opinion after being here for a considerable amount of time. And she came to the conclusion, and the debate ended with the fact that when you come out to a place like Groningen, you realise that it is a predominantly Dutch-speaking place. So if you go to Amsterdam, there'll be more international students, but it is a tourist sort of place, so a lot of people will speak English as a natural thing. So it is easier then to get jobs out there, given that a lot more people are over there from other countries, so the need to speak English is at a higher demand. But in Groningen, it is, although an international based university and there are a lot of international students, to be able to work out there you need to have a good standard use of the Dutch language and to be fluent in it. Now, I have, given that I've been out there a few times in the past few years, I've got a good understanding of Dutch and the use of it, and I know how to understand it to a certain extent, and I can speak it to a certain extent. But that doesn't mean then that when I get out there and I register for the course and I get onto the course, that I will be able to find work, because again, they do require people that speak Dutch, and she stressed the fact that it would be very hard, but you would have to go through maybe an agency, temporary agency, which is what she's had to do. And in the past, the university has had international students sleeping in tents because of the accommodation crisis. Now, that I don't know about, I never heard anything about that personally, so there was a few things that were mentioned that gave me alarm bells straight away. That accommodation crisis, people living in tents, but also this fact that people can get scammed very easily if you go out there. So to be able to book things in advance and get talking to people months in advance before actually applying for the course and going out there would be more ideal. And given that I'm at the last couple of months of university, I don't have the time to be able to get that in place. So there's a lot of different aspects of this course that may not be to my liking, and there will be a lot of obstacles and challenges in my way, and I think it's too much to ask of a student who's just going abroad for 2 years to be able to study. There's many other elements as well, given that I'll be just going out there on my own, which is fine, like not a problem. But if you're out there on your own, you have to figure things out in a different language, as well as it's a completely different culture. It is a different course as well, so if I get out there and realise that it's not quite what I expected it to be, what am I going to do then? And stuff like that. It is, the course itself at Groningen is it's one of those highly respected and highly regarded courses, given that its ranking university international wise is very high, but they don't mention that for people that are international that you would have to sort out for yourself, and the university does not take any that on board in terms of they sort it out for you. It is all up to you as a student to get your own accommodation sorted out, which is fine. But when you have to take into account that it is a different country and different currency as well, do you know whether you're being ripped off? Do you know the logistics behind the process of going abroad, which I have no clue about? So I've had to take myself to one side, sleep on it, and think about what is best for me. Now, coming to the idea of going to check out a course, normally I go to a course and straight away it either grabs me and it's something that I really want to do, or I get my gut instinct is it's a bad idea and I should take my time and maybe do something else or go in a different direction. Now, going to Groningen, although I enjoyed going around checking the place out and it was very, very nice, when it came to the course, nothing struck me, nothing made me want to go straight for it, nothing made me want to just apply on the spot. And given there's so many other aspects to it that I hadn't taken into consideration, coming away from it and learning what I did learn from those 2 days being over there, I think it comes down to the fact that just to go abroad there and just to sort of travel would be nice, but I don't think I could study over there and actually have a place over there. That would be something that I would have to sort out over a long period of time, so maybe 6 months in advance, apply and get something sorted out with somebody that is out there, and maybe he's looking for a housemate that's a friend of mine or something that can help me out with the process. That way I'm with someone that I do know that I'm familiar with, and it's not just going over there blindly. So when it came to the sport exercise physiology department at Leeds Beckett, I checked that out. I thought it would be a different specialisation compared to strength and conditioning, which I do enjoy, but the underpinning knowledge behind the physiology that I want from my athletes, I feel like is a much more is a bonus for me if I was to go into that profession. So in a different specialisation, I think that's a bit better, especially in a master's degree. It's that extra bit of knowledge in that area. So when I checked out that, we had a full tour of the facilities, which was on the registration of the course. So you were able then to get a PowerPoint presentation on what previous students did do, who they're partnered with internship-wise, and the logistics behind the department and the internships and the course and everything else, and what you can do, and the opportunities that you can get out of when you finish university. And you can go the research idea, the lecturing idea, the straight into the industry idea, and it seemed like there was so much more opportunity, whereas Groningen was in a very small town, which there wasn't much sport-wise that I could do, only clinical-based stuff, which isn't my area of what I want to do. I want to stay in the sport and performance side of things, so Leeds would be very beneficial, given that they've mentioned several different clubs that are up and down the country that I can go to, as well as in Leeds itself. So it's a much better option. But not only that, there's other things. So in Leeds, the lecturer that I talked to while going around the university facilities mentioned about each particular piece of equipment that we would use and the facilities that we would use, and he went into detail on describing how it would be used and what people have done in the past, and it was very descriptive, and I felt very inspired. Excuse me. These things range from biopsies, from fuel utilisation, that's playing with enzymes and stuff, and blood analysis like capillary sampling, glucose levels, cholesterol, and blood doping in elite athleticism, and how to prevent it further for problems in performance. And there were also altitude chambers that are being used, which I've never used before, so it would be nice to have a look at that. But they also have a biochemistry side of the physiology, which I find very intriguing. There's prescriptions in clinical stuff, so I do get a clinical side of it, although it's not purely based in the clinical aspect. There is obviously essentials in physiology and physiology of performance, so it is very generic in terms of the exercise, the sports performance, but also the clinical aspect and general aspect that it offers. But you also look at gut hormone work, like purporting. I'm not quite sure what that means per se, but I know it does have something to do with obviously the gut stuff and being able to look at how the hormones work and the secretion of such things. But also there is PhD partnering opportunities. So the Masters overall is accredited by the BASES, national governing body, so it's nice to be able to have something that is credible for that area. But because I know Leeds very well, it's also, there's no language barrier, there's also more opportunity in terms of my coaching as well, stemming off of my course at the moment. So I think it's probably better that I do stay with something that I'm familiar with, and then when it comes to work environment, I can spread my horizon then and look at other opportunities that would come into play. I can look at movement and human movement in general anyway at any point, but you do get a biomechanics side of physiology, you also get a nutrition side of physiology, you also get a strength and conditioning side of physiology, so you do get a broad array of things. And given that biomechanics looks at human movement anyway, I would get an area of human movement within that, although the specialism is in physiology. But the idea of talent identification by dysfunction, by healthy aging in general, I read a lot of books about other people that have done similar things, and I can take other courses that give me an just give me a practical idea of it rather than just a research idea. So research can be done anywhere, but if you don't have the practical knowledge and the practical use of it, which is what I have taken from university, and my general experience here is knowing the practical aspects, but knowing the theoretical aspects and how each one interlinks and how each one can be used generally. So I think having stepped back and had a look at what I want out of this fully, I think it would be beneficial of me just to stick it out another 2 years. I'm going to do it part-time so that I can manage other things on the side, so I can get a full-time job. And given that it is a full year with a master's thesis and dissertation along with the other modules that comes with it, I think it's probably better that I do it over 2 years to give myself some chance to be able to get the grades and the degree of knowledge that I want, but also to be able to focus on my coaching and get the required experience that I need to be able to follow that through, and do more with coaching. And there's also other accreditations that I can do on the side, so it's probably better that I do that sort of thing. It's been a good experience so far. Checking out the university, I think I did do well myself by doing that, but I think this abroad thing's going to have to wait a bit longer. I'm still very young, so it's probably better that I focus on my aspect of education and learning first and get that to a decent degree, and then when I'm able then to take that elsewhere, I can focus on that at that particular point. I'm not in any rush. There should be no rush. So yeah, it's been interesting to see both universities, but the physiology one I think grabbed me the most. It was my gut instincts are telling me to stay and follow this other course more than go abroad and look at another course that didn't quite capture me. I need to listen to myself this time around. And given that it's such a big decision to go abroad as well, I think it is something that needs to wait until I fully know what I'm going to do with it all and the best thing for me. So yeah, I'm going to continue my applications and see where it takes me. Until then, it's working hard on my dissertation and the rest of my modules for my undergraduate.